But no, I have buy or sells regarding the Cincinnati Reds, the National League Central, and things like that I'll put on a tee for you. And the first one is relegated somewhat to Pacoda projections, and that is buying or selling the Reds are the worst team in the National League Central.
I mean, I'm selling it.
Who did you think was going to buy that one?
He's gonna buy it. What do you mean?
Well, that's true, but he does it out of a bit. Like, I'm going to sell it because the Pittsburgh Pirates are in the division, and if you've watched the Pittsburgh Pirates at any point during your lifetime, you know how terrible of an organization they are.
Last time I watched them was in the wild card in 2013.
That was the last time you watched the Pittsburgh Pirates? Yeah, that's about right. Well, since then, they've done nothing. So I'm going to take the Cincinnati Reds to finish above the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I'm willing to bet anybody any sum of money on it.
So here's the thing that I get it, I guess, when Reds fans punch down on the Pirates, but I don't think it's as far down as you think it is. I think it's a lateral punch. I think both teams have been pretty bad in this 30-year run, and the Pirates have been.
I've never once said at any point that the Reds have been good during the same.
But you punch down towards the Pirates.
Sure, because they're just as bad as we are, if not worse. They're just as bad as the Cincinnati Reds.
I think you think of them as a AAA team, and I think they're like.
Well, yeah, because at least the Reds have shown signs of effort. Like, the Pirates haven't shown effort in 25 years, 30 years.
They won 99 games in 2015.
They
beat you guys in the postseason.
They don't pay for anything. They don't do anything. That's the worst owner in professional sports. They literally don't do anything.
It has been a long.
Their biggest contract was what? It just happened. It was I don't even know who it was.
Brian Hayes.
I think so. Yeah, is that who
it's
it was?
the first time they've eclipsed 100.
Yeah, it was. They've never touched it before.
Scheme says he still hasn't been contacted.
Yeah, like I'm good. I'm good with my no stock on Pittsburgh Pirates.
So you think
would you like to buy stock? Would you like to buy the stock that I sold?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You want to sell? You want to buy all my Pittsburgh Pirates stock?
Correct. You think the Pirates are the worst team in the National League Central. I don't think they're the worst team in the National League Central.
I think they are.
I don't think the Reds are the worst team in the National League Central. I think it's pretty clearly the Cardinals.
I agree.
I don't when I saw those projections, while the Reds 73 wins was by far and the Cubs 91 wins are the most shocking, I still don't understand what I'm missing about the St. Louis Cardinals, because not only do they no longer have Hall of Fame players at the peak of their powers. Paul Goldschmidt's gone. Nolan Arenado's still a fine player, and Yadier Molina's gone. They've got two promising young players. Mason Wynn's a really good shortstop, a really, really good shortstop. And Jordan Walker, I think, is going to figure it out. But the rest of the team, Wilson Contreras is a really good hitter, doesn't do anything else. I don't get the Cardinals coming close. I truly think the Cardinals are going to be the worst team by a good margin. You said the Cubs are not better than 20 games better than the
Reds.
I think whoever wins the National League Central will be 20. The Cardinals will be 20 games below them.
Wow.
Like, I think the Cardinals are. I don't see the Cardinals at all. And I'm kind of there about the Brewers, but at least I kind of get the devil magic, and I know that the Cardinals have been up there too. Things are getting real sour in St. Louis very quickly.
I think that there's a couple franchises out there that earn the benefit of the doubt when the whole world is not high on them. The Cardinals, for me, are one of those teams.
That's fair.
They're a team that I don't care if they literally don't have a roster. I'm going to still say the Cardinals finish better than the Reds or the Pirates, just because I've seen it. That's a very well-run organization,
right,
historically. They've
Steelersy.
Huh? Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's crazy how good of comparisons there are between our Bengals conference and the National League Central. The Cardinals are the Steelers. They always are good, regardless of who they throw out there. You're just like, what? I don't get it. And then they'll win 85 games. They're just like, this doesn't make any sense. That being said, I think they're going to be terrible this year. And the Brewers are the Ravens. Very well-ran organization. Well-ran organization. The Cubs are the Browns. Perennial losers. And I guess the Pirates are the Bengals. Like, the Reds don't have a comp in the AFC North. Like, I don't know what that would be. Because I always, when I talk the Reds to NFL, I compare them to, like, the Commanders. Used to be good 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and kind of just riding that wave. Still a huge, rabid fan base that wants to be good, but they don't have a whole lot to show for it. I don't think the Reds have a comp in the AFC North.
Maybe the Browns just over the last 30 years.
The Cubs are the Browns.
I'm saying, like, in our lifetime.
But I don't think the Cubs are. I don't think the Cubs are the Browns.
I don't either. They won a championship.
Yeah, they recently.
Sure. Yeah, very
recently. So it's like I I think it would be more related to that. But yeah, I listen. If we want to say the Reds are the worst team in the Central, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to happen.
Okay,
There'll be at least one team behind them, and I'd bet every dollar I have on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yeah. I mean, the Cardinals thing, I understand what everybody's saying, why everybody's down, and they're in a rebuild mode, they're in tank mode. They haven't tanked, like they haven't sold any pieces. Goldschmidt left, but that's it. Like everybody else is still there as of right.
Well,
as of
what's
right now.
there?
Well, nothing. But I'm just saying, last year they were still. I mean, they were like not great, but they were average.
This is their depth chart on Fangraphs. This is who they're projected to play. Their starting catcher is going to be Ivan Herrera.
Not great.
First baseman's going to be Wilson Contreras.
Very good.
Very good. The guy who they have having the most plate appearances from second base isn't Brandon Donovan or Nolan Gorman. It's Thomas Segassi.
Don't know who that is.
Correct. Their shortstop's Mason Wynn. Great
Very
player. Third baseman's Nolan Arenado.
Very good.
Okay, and then their outfield is Lars Nootbaar, Victor Scott, and Jordan Walker.
Lars.
And then you're going to see Alex Burleson, Brandon Donovan, Nolan Gorman fitting around in different places. They play multiple places, but I don't see it. So you say that the Reds, there's no way that the Reds are the worst team in the National League Central.
Barring injuries, yeah.
So let me ask this in a buy or sell
completely healthy Reds roster.
The Reds are significantly better this year, buying or selling. Significantly better. And you can phrase that however you want.
They won how many games last year? They won
78.
78,
right?
78? Was it 78 or 75? I thought they went down. Somebody find me how many games the Reds.
I got you.
Scrolling. 77 and 85.
Okay, so 77 is 5 games significantly better.
Yes.
Then yes, they will be significantly better than they were last year. I don't know if they're a playoff team. I'm not going to say they're a playoff team. I'm going to say that they get above 80 wins. I'm going to say they at least have a winning record. I'm going to say Terry Francona gives them to a winning record. They're going to be significantly better. Again, last year, I've said it a million times, they never really had what the vision was before the season.
Yeah.
Like that vision never came to fruition one time during the course of an 162-game season. If they're healthy from the start, if they're healthy at the end, the Cincinnati Reds are going to have a very good chance at potentially making the postseason. Yeah, I'm going to say they're significantly better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're going to be right around, at least right now, I'm thinking they're going to be right around a 500 team. I think they're going to be right in that low to mid 80s in wins, kind of battling to be right there, 85 or so. And I think that's probably about the ceiling for this team. And I think they're going to win 80 games. So if that's going to be enough to be a significant improvement, then yeah, I'll buy it too.
I don't think they win 85 or 86. I think they're going to win 83, maybe at the very most. I think their ceiling would be 84 for me. Personally, but I understand why people have doubts. Like there's a bunch of Reds fans on Twitter being like, "How do you say that this team isn't good enough? How do you say?" I understand it. Like they didn't do a ton in terms of like addressing the outfield, which I would argue was the number one goal of the offseason. Probably, at least that's what Nick Krall said at the beginning of the offseason. You got to address the outfield. They didn't really do that. I mean, you say whatever you want about Gavin Lux and Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes is an okay outfielder. Gavin Lux is an infielder. So that's our outfield additions on top of the fact that TJ Friedl struggled mightily last season. Whether or not that was because of injury, again, up to you. Jake Fraley struggled mightily. Again, a lot of off-the-field stuff that battled that. And you had Spencer Steer, who had an okay year. He was a serviceable player. I would say one of the Reds' best players, ironically. But I think they've done enough this offseason to help it out to where they can get to 500 or maybe a little bit more.
So you'll be responsibly wagering on the over 78.5.
No, I will not.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to I don't want to get too excited. I'm not going to get too excited. I was very excited coming into last year. I'm not going to do that again. I think so based on what I see on paper that they're good. If the starting pitching staff stays healthy, if we're able to use Nick Martinez out of the bullpen because Rhett Lauder comes up and he's fantastic, yeah, I love our chances. But there's no way of knowing until the season starts. So I'm not going to write myself into the 74 win projections. It literally doesn't make sense. They added to the roster and they predict less wins. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I mean, other teams can add to the roster too. It's when you guys are changing, other teams are too. So
sure. But the Pirates, they predicted the Pirates to suck. They predicted the Cardinals to suck, and they predicted the Brewers and to be fair, the Brewers own the Cincinnati Reds and the Chicago Cubs. I think the Reds have done pretty well against the Cubs over the past several years.
Yeah.
So if you say that's 90 wins, the Reds are getting 8, 9, 10 wins against the Cubs this season.
How many games they play? 14 now, or they play 12. They play 12 now.
I thought it was a little bit more than that.
It used to be 18 before they
Okay,
changed the schedule.
Then
to
7. They'll get 7 wins at least against the Chicago Cubs, and I'm okay with that.
Here's the thing about the Reds, is they've done a really good job this offseason at raising their floor. Like, they've made it to where this team will not bottom out. And always, the thing that was going to raise the ceiling of the Reds was never going to be free agent signings. It was never going to be trade acquisitions. That was never going to raise the ceiling of the Reds. The thing that was always going to raise the ceiling of the Reds is how well their young players play. Point blank. Elly De La Cruz took a major step up. Hunter Green took a major step up. Can there be more of that? Can there be Matt McLain being what he was 2 years ago, now healthy in a 162-game stretch? Can Nick Lodolo have a healthy season? Can all these things? Can the young players raise the ceiling? Because that was always the plan. Make sure this team doesn't bottom out, fill in the gaps, and then we're going to raise the ceiling, hopefully, with the young players that are here. And that's what we'll see. That's what we'll see. I'll give the Reds kudos for raising the floor significantly. Now it's up to the players on the field, the young players, to raise the ceiling. That's what it was always going to be, and that's how it is. And here's the question I'll ask while talking about those young players. Matt McLain is the most important player for the Reds this year.
I think Reds fans are putting too much pressure on Matt McLain. They're asking him to do too much this season. And obviously that's a read bit, but I think to a degree it's come true. I think a lot of pressure is being put on Matt McLain, and now you're seeing it thrown out there that he's not even going to play the position that he's played most of his career. They're going to try to have him at third base, and I think to move him to third base or try to move him to third base and mess with his spring training when he's trying to come back from an injury that cost him an entire season, when you're relying on him to be an all-star level player in your infield to be even relatively competitive, I think that's more than enough to make him the most important Red this year. Obviously, the answer is Elly De La Cruz. Obviously, the answer is health. But I think in terms of what we could do, a lot of that is contingent on what Matt McLain gives us. If he comes out and he's what he was, 2 years ago, then we're going to be a much better ball club than if he, takes a Noelvin Marte step back. I mean, not to be that bad, not to be that extreme, but certainly we've seen that before with guys come up and young and tear it up, and then we see him again and they're not as good. So I think he's absolutely the most important Red this year.
Yeah, I mean, Jacob's right, Reed's right. There is so much pressure on the kid, and unfortunately there has to be, because he has to be good, which makes him probably the X factor for the Reds this year. I know what Elly De La Cruz is. He's a superstar. He's generational. He's fantastic. But Elly De La Cruz needs a Robin to his Batman, right? You need somebody else that's as good as you, can compete with you, and can help you score runs and bring home runs. Matt McLain did that, man. I mean, in a limited time in 2023, he played about as well as you could possibly play. And honestly, if he would have stayed healthy that year, he might have won Rookie of the Year on half a season. So I don't know. I'm going to say he is. I'm going to say he is the most important Red this year, just because, again, we've all known this. You have to have them play up to what we think they can, and what I think Matt McLain can be is again, maybe not as good as Elly, but pretty damn close.
So I'll do this really quickly before I send us off to break. And I think Matt McLain, I try to think. I try to be different. I try to think about the entire roster. I try to talk myself into a take where CES, if he turns into the power hitter that we thought he was going to be last year, if he turns that around and becomes that, he's the most important player. I can't talk myself into anyone other than Matt McLain. I think he's pretty clearly the most important player on this Reds team for the reasons that Elliot said. We know what you're getting with Elly De La Cruz. You know what you're getting with Hunter Green. Can you find that third piece, that third guy that is always going to be an all-star consideration, that is going to be feared in the lineup, that every single time that he steps on the diamond that you're going to get high caliber play from. And I think that's Matt McLain. So yeah, I'm buying that he is the most important Red this season.